Uh, Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us at Raising Millions, the financial literacy course for founder. We're really excited for this session today. And It's called Getting to Know Your Business Banker. It's a discussion with William Goodenough, and I'm going to just highlight our agenda here. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on William. Actually, I'm going to ask him to introduce himself. And he's going to talk about a variety of topics, and then we will open it up for Q&A. Also, if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat, drop it in Q&A, or just raise your hand and we will do our best to take your question. We are recording this so that it's available for replay later. And now I'm going to pass it on to William. I did meet William. He actually was my business banker. I met him many years ago at Citibank when I started my own relationship at Citibank for business banking. And he's been quite helpful to me over the years. And so when he very recently retired from Citibank after helping me with some things, I asked him if he'd be kind enough to speak to us. So I'm going to let you take over the conversation, William.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself.
Thank you for that nice introduction and a nice welcome. Nice to meet everyone here. Yes, I did just retire from Citibank. My name is William Goodenough. I'm a banker at Citibank for over 20 years. I also have experience in industrial sales and say B2B, business to business sales. So I want to speak about working with your banker, taking advantage of that relationship, and also touch on some other things that I think can offer businesses. As a business banker, I got to help many businesses in the course of my working with them. Whenever someone starts a business, they need to have a new account. The banker becomes a point of contact, and that point of contact, that banker, if it's it might be a business banker or the branch manager, it's a valuable relationship to have, an important person to know. The banker deals with all businesses, all different kinds of industries, and can share with you insights that the banker might have gained, and I'll try to do that right now. Depending on how you organize your business, you might you start your business with an idea, and maybe you want to test the waters, and you can if once you get your business organized, you might make a DBA or an LLC, and there are reasons to pick one or the other, but I'll mention why I suggest the easiest one to start. And also, you want to get a business EIN. That's for free. You get that from the federal government. So this is what creates the business. You have the organization documents, you have the business name, you've got the filing receipt from New York State, or you have a DBA certificate from the county. It's very inexpensive to make a DBA. And once you have an idea for your business, you have a name, and the business name might reflect what the business does. And you got this idea because you believe that people would want to pay you for doing this thing, either for doing a service or for doing a product. So your idea might be very unique for a special idea, and you've already had indications that you're good at this, or you have an idea that it would work out. So even before you get a business account, you can get the DBA and the EIN. Once you have those two tools, those two things, that you can go on. You can go to the bank and talk to the banker and get ideas about how you should proceed immediately. But you need a bank account as soon as someone pays you. As soon as someone pays you in the business name, the business name will be on the check. That's when you have to have a business account. So you would begin with your idea and making your acquaintance in your marketplace, and then also getting the business documents and the EIN. Then you go to the bank. Now, which bank should you go to? My suggestion is that you have a relationship with a major bank. Wherever you are is a big bank or a well-known bank or a bank with a good reputation. Because yes, maybe you could go anywhere, but that's the bank that you want to get a reference from later on. that you're in business with the bank. The bank is in business with you. You might want to go to the bank where you have your personal relationships. Now, people, of course, should like to keep there are many reasons why it's important. Keep the personal affairs and the business affairs separately. Actually, a very big rule at the bank. You mustn't run your business through your personal account. There are consequences for that. A business is a very special entity that enjoys a lot of privileges. There are different rules for consumer banking than there are for business banking. So I would encourage anyone to make acquaintance. I would hope that you already have personal accounts. Everyone does. You might even have more than one bank. There are reasons to do that as well. But you want to make acquaintance with your bank or whoever it is, and you'll get an idea. You'll make a decision based on your syncopatic code with this person, or maybe there's someone else in the branch who you want to speak to. You say, I want to form a business. My idea is this. What should I do? And this is a person who has a wealth of knowledge based on their experience. They have training for this, and just might have a business degree. They can give you their insight. Reason to have it at the same as your that same bank, but a separate account for your business affairs from your personal affairs is because your personal relationship with the bank does count. It's clout. You want to be treated well by the bank, and the bank wants to look after you. The bank wants to say the whole relationship. When it's a business, there are a lot of rules which I'll speak about, a lot of government regulations, USA Patriot Act, say know your customers, a lot of rules with businesses because you do like special privileges. The important privilege, of course, is to be able to deposit a check payable to the business name in the business account. You must have a business account to deposit the checks of revenue from the business. So if you have a personal relationship with the bank as well, then it counts. The whole macro relationship counts. You might have a retirement account at some place. You might have personal savings accounts. That would be one good place to start. Consider to make a business banking relationship. You want that comradeship. You want that relationship. If you go to a different bank, if you have a reason why, the reason I suggested maybe it's personal accounts are at a bank, a smaller bank, or only at the credit union. So you do need to get the business account. You have to make a new relationship. If you didn't have one before, the old one you didn't want to use, then the banker might ask you to suggest also to have a personal account because they want to be familiar. These things do get audited. So why should you accept that intrusion into your affairs? Well, if you bank at Citibank or Chase Bank or Bank of America and you have a business account there, that is a very good business relationship. It's a very good business reference. It's a reference for clout in your marketplace. If someone pays you by check and the check is cashed at Citibank or Chase Bank, well, that's a pretty impressive reference because the big bank, the commercial bank, is very strict. They ask you like intrusive questions, verifying the business activities. They looked at the business, the filing receipt. They did their own checks, and you're in. You make an application to open up the account. Then when you're in, you're in. You have that banking reference, that business banking reference source. Because and we talk about the EIN. The business relationship is separate from the personal. Business account has its own EIN. Now, I should mention, when I say EIN, I'm referring to the same as the individually we have a social security number. The business has a tax ID number too, called an employer identification number. Your business might not have any employees, but you must, and you have the privilege of getting a tax ID for the business. And when you file on your tax return, Schedule C or whatever your accountant advises, you put the revenue and the expenses on the personal account, and that goes separately under the EIN. Or you might file a whole separate return depending on the maturity of your business. But once you have the business relationship in the EIN, it opens up the door to so many more things. I mentioned that it can be a bank reference. Bank reference would be important for a vendor. You might need to purchase something, you want to need supplies for your business. You might want to get a lease. They might ask you for a reference, so you can ask the bank, we do it all the time, a reference letter with the business name on it, how long the relationship was, and it says nice things about you, and gives a contact number. That's a clout. That's part of your profile in your marketplace, and not just the marketplace where you sell, but the marketplace where you exist, where you buy, and where you network, where you get your resources from, when you learn about new clients, when you learn about new resources and new opportunities. You look big, you are big. You feel big, you look good. I want to mention too, what else being a client of the bank and taking advantage of your relationship. Because the banker may suggest things from time to time. There might be a time when the bank rather, is that has a commitment to get certain things done. The bank has a charter. Bank is a big operation, lots of auditors and regulations and laws. The bank enjoys a privilege of having a retail branch. Bank gets to open another branch in New York or in New Jersey or any place else. They apply for that, and they make a commitment to the regulators that they're going to serve communities, might be an underserved area that needs a retail bank, or maybe it's just an area that the bank wants to be interested in. So they make a commitment. We're going to help small businesses. Bank makes an agreement with the regulators. We will commit to doing so much more business lending. So the banker when there's something going on, when the bank has interest in it, should listen to it as well. Might not, you'll listen to it, and if it's time for you, then you'll give it consideration. But I'm saying be aware of what the banker has to offer, and even the signs in the bank. But I do want to speak about borrowing from the bank, but also something easier, and I say it's quick to do, and I recommend it. As soon as you get your idea for the business, you have the EIN and the organization documents, you can have the option, you can apply for a business credit card. It's a credit card with the business name on it that goes under the business's tax ID number. So the business begins to build its own credit history, its own credit profile, a credit score for the business. And you earn that just by, you can often manipulate the card. Just having the card is how you build your credit history for the business. And you might want to pick one that has no fees or whatever it might be offered. Now, there are many banks that offer credit cards for businesses. My suggestion is that you choose a credit card for your business from a major bank. Most preferably the same bank that you got the checking account with. Then it's all part of your relationship. So then the bank has a macro understanding of what you do. Because they'll ask questions. Your bank has auditors. When you're a business client, there are regulators special to business. You must maintain your affairs in good order, which of course you do. On the personal side, also the bank has additional responsibilities. Of course, you're not doing any international money laundering and sending wires to inappropriate countries, and you're not involved in trafficking or anything else. And but the bank has to treat everybody the same. So it will come up from time to time, and there might be a question about something. So you do want them to have that familiarity. For those reasons, to make it simpler for you to do business, and also because there might be opportunities that would serve you that come along. And they come along because from time to time the bank has an obligation or a promotion. Well, they just do things in their own marketing way. So if they're offering, you should consider. That's the point of the credit card. Now, people also are always interested in borrowing cash from the bank. But just to mention too about the credit card, you don't need a business checking account to have the credit card. Your business might be so new that all you have is expensive. Maybe it's the end of the year. So you don't even, I'm suggesting the business credit card because you will have expenses. And if your business entity is new, then your revenue might not be producing yet. It might not come in till next quarter or next year. So meanwhile, you still have the expenses, and those are costs are deductible against your other income. This is a benefit or an advantage of being a business, making a business entity, not just running your business unofficially or subversively through your personal account. With upfront, you're a major player. You're at a major bank. You have a business credit card. You have an EIN. A major player. You eventually borrow cash from the bank. Underwriting criteria to borrow from the bank is very strict. Businesses enjoy a lot of courtesy, but the underwriting criteria is very strict. Also, the rates to borrow from a business to borrow from the bank unsecured is businesses enjoy much lower rates that are charged to consumers. So you might be a secured loan, something else, but an unsecured personal loan for cash or unsecured credit line or cash on the personal side is very expensive. There are reasons to have it, and we can always talk about that. But a business would like to have a unsecured credit line for many reasons. If your business is one that is not collecting, that if cash business and you collect, you make the sale, you collect, you already paid. But many businesses might not collect them. Business might have, you make the terms, and also your marketplace demands what the payment terms are. But depending upon what your industry does, what you do, what you have to offer, you make the terms. So it might be that you, and we'll talk about that in a little bit detail, but if you have receivables, say, professional, you have receivables, doctor, dentist, other things, depending on what you do. Then you're waiting through, you're doing the expense to provide the service or the product, and yet you're waiting to be paid. The bank will finance that time that it takes to receive those goods. That payment for the service or goods you provided. So the bank will lend to you so you can use the bank's money while you're waiting to receive the payment from your clients. And for this unsecured credit line, understanding the promise of the receivables, that the bank will give you a credit line to use for that purpose. Of course, once you have it, you use it as you wish, and you should pay it back, because then you can use it again. Then as time goes on, as you matures, you might find other uses for that, and you might ask the bank for an increase. Now, the bank will also lend to you for a specific purpose. If you have a retail store and you need to buy fittings or display cases or equipment, if you need to buy a buzz saw or equipment, supplies, tools, lawnmower, the bank will lend to you that investment in your facility. That would be for a loan. Because there are two kinds. There's the unsecured line, and then there's an unsecured loan. We say unsecured, that it's not, there's no collateral. It's uncollateralized, unsecured, like there's no lien on any property. It is backed only by your promise to pay it back. And you get the low rate because it's a business, and the bank has to be good to businesses. So if you can make that deal with the bank where you can qualify for credit, any amount, then especially in the retail side, you have really building your relationship with the bank. So you have your business checking account, you have a savings account with a business savings account, you're doing the online banking, personal relationship is there, and now you have a credit card, then you have some kind of a lending product from the bank for cash. You are really filling up that place. You become very important to the bank because it's the bank is doing its job. It's a bank is retail. We have to be responsive. A lot of people have troubles and have to assist you with all those. But it's you're doing your part. You become valuable to the bank, and that's again it goes back to being a good reference. And thrillingly, business, same as the credit card, is a reference for the business, and you pick the good bank, major bank for that. You also do the same with what you're lending. You went to that bank because it had a good reputation and a famous name or a well-regarded name in your area. That then you not only have the deposit reference, but you also have the credit reference, even if it's a very modest amount. I could go on and on about that. I discussed what bank to choose. Am I going too long or doing
Oh,
okay?
no. I was just going to chime in and see if I could ask you a couple of questions.
Please.
So you talked about the various types of borrowing that people can do when they start this relationship. When someone comes in to find a business banker and starts having the conversation with someone like yourself, what types of questions do you ask them? What are the things that they should expect to be asked or provide in order to get approval for something like a credit card or a line of credit? And then if they don't qualify for it at that moment, what are the steps they need to take in order to achieve that? If you could just give us a little bit of advice there.
Okay. I talked about you make a relationship target. You make your decision based upon how well you think you would get along with this person, and then the banker is responsible to ask you questions. So they would want to learn about your business, because for two reasons: they have a responsibility to know what the business does. Like the banker has to answer those questions for underwriting, for approval to make an application to open up a business account. Banker really has to ask those questions, and depending upon the industry, it might be a lot of questions. It might seem intrusive. They just have to know and understand. They will say, will you be sending wires? How many a month? Where or any going out of the country? What is the purpose of those wires? Will you be receiving cash going into the account? And all of these things might be true and in the usual course of business. So you just have to answer truthfully, and because that will determine your relationship. It's one that sends international wires, or it's one that makes a lot of cash deposits. So here you are, an industry that sends a lot of wires, or makes a lot of cash deposits, and you have this reference. You've been approved. You're a player at a major bank like Citibank or Chase Bank. But you asked me several questions, and I think I only answered one. What was the other questions you asked?
Well, yeah, I mean, like when someone comes in, are you going to ask them about, about their business plan, about their financial forecast? Are you going to focus on their history? Are you going to look at their taxes? What are the things that they need to have and be prepared to talk about?
Well, the formation documents and the EIN and the explanation of what the business does. Now, the bank will sometimes ask for references. They, depending upon, might want to ask for absolute evidence of the business location. If the banker may require to visit your facility, to visit your place of business, to examine it before you can open up the account. A lot of these things depend upon what kind of industry it is. And some industries have more scrutiny than others. Retail, a jewelry store has different requirements than a party service. Depends upon what you do. Now, if the business is home-based, then there are additional verifications for that as well. Some businesses are considered high risk. Now, bank still wants to take care of you, but it has additional due diligence on its own side. Now, a home-based business, well, it's difficult for someone to answer all those questions, because maybe your business is new and you haven't really determined that you don't really have deliveries. Heck, you have deliveries at the house and all these kinds of things. But if you have a personal relationship with the bank already, and that counts as one big reference. So if you go in cold, you can do it, but just it's going to be more scrutiny, and it might seem intrusive. And depending on how you answer the question, you could discourage the bank from proceeding immediately or proceeding at all. So that's why, again, if you already have a personal relationship with the bank, they know who you are. You brought your driver's license in a long time ago. You're putting your PIN number in the ATM machine for all these years correctly. You're no stranger to the bank. So, of course, it's a simple extension to also have a business account. There are other things that the business can do to borrow. Now, one of this involves merchant services. And we talked about a credit card for the business. It says you have your own personal card. And that's I think I already talked about that enough. But your business might be one that accepts credit cards for payment. Now, of course, you get charged fees with this. That's also your cost of doing business. Your customers might require that whatever your industry you're in, it might be one that's customary, pay by credit cards. Or you might have your own reasons why you to collect is difficult to collect. You do this service when the customer isn't home, and then you have to go back and get paid. So if you have the credit card on file, or if you're giving karate lessons and you have the credit card number on file, then it's just done. You go to the computer at night, you submit it all in, it cooks overnight, or sometimes even quicker, and you get paid, and then the credit card company has to go collect from your customer, not you. And yes, there are fees for all of this, and you shouldn't skimp on this. There are many merchant service providers. That's what we say by business being able to accept credit cards. Now, incidentally, there's also an underwriting process to accept credit cards. You have to have a good personal credit history. You have to have a business EIN. You have to be in an industry that meets whatever, depending upon what industry you're in, you'll have to meet an extra scrutiny from the merchant services people. You've already met the banker, but the merchant services is another part of the organization. In fact, often it's a different company. There are many merchant service companies. They provide the credit card machine, or now it's some industries you do the swipe, the square, it's a device. So go through the bank that they have, because then again, you're macro-wise making even bigger your relationship with the bank. So you're depending on them, but they're supposed to be taking care of you. You're their success story. So the credit merchant services provider would provide the devices, and also, depending upon your industry, point of sale. Or maybe your business is on the internet and people make purchases online. A lot of underwriting with that too. If you have a virtual business, a lot of questions about that. If you have a credit card company that assist you with the online processing of credit cards. Now, there are people say, "Oh, I have PayPal." That's all well and good, but it's not the same panache as having it with the bank. It's not cheaper necessarily, and it's not better necessarily. And then if you have a jam with PayPal, well, what are you going to do? You're stuck. It's months to straighten things out. But if your merchant services provider is one that is aligned with your bank or a major bank, and they are proven, they have a reputation too that they have to take care of, and they have to look after you. They also have the safeguards in for one or other things. So your business is up and running, and you have a credit card, and maybe you're not. I'll talk about what else you have to do to be eligible to borrow from the bank. Now, I didn't mention the credit line on the loan, but I want to see what else the bank is going to ask you for if you want to borrow. But something else that's easy to do, and it's for short term. Once you have a credit card profile, merchant services activity, the merchant services company will advance you in expectation of the future receipts that you're going to get from the credit card sales you make in the next few months. This can be very useful, and I would recommend it really cheaply for short term, because once you take the cash from the merchant services provider, the credit card company, then then when you run the machine, it doesn't go into your bank account; it goes to pay back the loan, at least a major portion of it. So this is but it's there, and it's just something to be aware of. And when it's brought to your attention, or you're invited to be aware of it or to consider it, you pay attention and give it a listen and make a decision. Maybe it's just the right thing for you. But something else that to borrow from the bank, it depends upon your industry. It might be an industry that is not attractive for borrowing. A cash industry is not. We have a hard time getting a credit line because the bank wants to know what is the loan for. So for future receipts, yes, the credit line, or to make a improvement, that's a loan. It's a loan with cash just for that purpose. put in a new countertop or buy new tables or a new POS system. Oh, I say POS is point of sale. POS is point of sale, the device that the server might enter the order on, or the computer on the counter that finds the auto part in the storeroom. Those are point of sale things. And that also makes it easier for you to do business. It streamlines your activity, keep track of things, and also you look like you know what you're doing. You're not just doing something out of a cigar box. You're taking credit cards, you're having inventory, you know what's going on. But typically, let's say that you are could be considered to borrow from the bank. Bank's going to ask you for 2 years tax returns. Want to see a real history, depending upon the amount that you want to borrow, particularly. And if you have 2 years tax returns, you have a reason. So you just want to have it. You could even give it, depending upon how the bank knows you. Say it's called a vanity line. Well, don't leave it for any particular reason immediately, but the banker would have a conversation with you and would uncover the need. Banker asks questions you have to answer truthfully and candidly, and the banker will help, because the bank really has an obligation to make loans. The bank has to serve its marketplace by lending to small.
Connor, were you about to ask a question?
Yeah, I was, because William, you had brought up an interesting point about, industry, and obviously there's hundreds of industries that different companies are in, and some are dealing in cash, whatever the case may be. One of the questions we had here was, should I look for a business banker who is an expert in my company's industry, or are most business bankers, industry agnostic, really get the business across the board?
Yes, because it is so. In a big bank, there are areas. So, for instance, I was talking about unsecured lending. So, of course, the bank has a commercial lending department, and that means talking about big amounts, and a position might have a big build out, depending upon the magnitude of what you and the purpose. Then yes, of course, there will be the commercial lending. That would be a mortgage to buy a building, or some a secured loan. Secured loan. Maybe it's secured against a bulldozer or a building. Usually, it's real estate. Yes, there's a department, and then of course, then there are business industry specific. There'll be a banker that is expert, or because the bank has tailored products depending on where you're going, or physicians. Physicians or attorneys have special needs for their account. Attorneys have special needs. There are areas and experts in the bank. We say relationship manager or product expert for different industries. Yes, and the banker would know he's got the Rolodex. He knows who's on his staff. Just as he's responsible to help you with his own lending, and it's very happy with it. Even just a few times a year, bank might get to refer you to that department. It's very valuable to the branch, the banker, and take you the good service that you require. Does that answer the question, Connor, about the different industry types?
Yeah, no, that's a perfect question, answer to the question. And I had one more before. I know, Laura, you had one too. But it was something you mentioned before about, part of the benefit of having a relationship with your business banker is that there are opportunities that come up, potential promotions or things like that. Are there some examples that you can mention, or just dig into that a little bit further?
Yes. So from time to time, the credit card company might have a promotion, and it would be like right now. I think it's at Capital One. They have never used to be cashback credit card. So there's a promotion going on, and the incentives to get this card, like they'll suggest, oh, we'll give you a bonus, or 0% interest, or a big line. So, and the underwriting criteria might not be so severe. So if this is we don't have sales, well, this is the card we want. We're going to suggest we're offering it now, and then you might consider that now. But it's every May is Small Business Month. Small Business Month. So the bank has to doing things for Small Business Month, or some lending, some business lending, there are fees. You have to pay an application fee, $100, $300. So during this period, promotion period or a special time, bank might be offering lending. So you'll do it now when it's suggested. You at least consider it if it's the right thing for you, because the bank is all geared up for it. They have the underwriters all, nobody's going to go on vacation. The underwriters are all in other departments, other cities. It's being offered now, so you might as well get in on it if it's something that would be good for you.
And that's a great point. I mean, even just the small business reference there, you know, if I was running a business, I may go out and try to find promotions during that month. But if somebody was coming to me directly and saying, you know, here are 5 different opportunities, you want to take advantage of it, that would save me so much time and energy.
Well, during the course of the year, when you make a deposit, when you have a conversation with the banker, what they'll do, they ask, like, you will get to know them and they will get to know you. And then, you know, the banker will say, you know, I know just the thing for you is a certain kind of lending, and we have a promotion coming, and take advantage of it now. And the banker will know that you were waiting for this opportunity. The banker has your acquaintance and an understanding of what you do. Then when the promotion comes along, whatever it might be, or the new product, you know, if something doesn't even exist, banker will know to talk to you first. Banker also knows other people in your marketplace. Probably knows your competitors. Share the same customers. It's usual that my customer, the banker's customer, your customer is the banker's customer. So we have mutual clients and a mutual care. We care for our clients. You care for your clients, your customers. It's the same person. So I'll speak nicely about you and you speak nicely about me. And I know people that don't know you. And I can see, you know, it could, depending on my faith in you as a merchant, I can suggest to another potential customer for you to refer to you. That's like real estate, a CPA, businesses more often, and then it's the networking. So the banker knows things about your marketplace. You know, if you have your interior decorator, banker might know before you do that a new apartment house is going to be built on the corner, and you want to be able to speak knowledgeable about that. You talk to people, you read the local newspaper, you read the business journal, you have the Chamber of Commerce, you talk to people, you listen, you exchange information, so then you become knowledgeable of your marketplace.
And it kind of goes back to, sorry to interrupt you, but I know we had spoken about this previously. Everything that you're speaking to culminates to this idea of, you know, building this relationship, put somebody in your corner, somebody who's looking out for you. And, you know, I think any entrepreneur can understand it can be very lonely at times. So adding that extra person to your arsenal, to your team, so to speak, is incredibly valuable, especially if they're looking out for so many different, you know, promotions and opportunities in a variety of areas that could benefit you and your business.
We could use the word mentor or coach. Entrepreneurs are very much revered. That's why they have all these courtesies. That's why you have the tax advantages. And it is to be respected. It is a gamble. It is tough. And lonely is a good word. At the end of the day, it's up to you. You might have a payroll. You know, people are got to put food on the table. It's a lot of pressure on us to be respected. The banker respects you for that. I want to just talk about, I'm okay on the time. Or were there other questions? I'm sorry, because I do want to speak
have
about,
a couple of questions, if I could. One thing I would like to ask about is debt. How much is too much? Because I often get questions from clients who say, you know, is it better to build payables, or is it better to borrow a loan from a bank, or is it better to raise equity or debt? How much debt is too much, and what is the right amount?
it's usually a factor of your annual sales and also a factor of the deposits that you have on hand. So if you run your account down to zero every month, whatever reason, because people do like to harvest profits. So if you run the account, your checking account at the bank down to zero, that's going to be unattractive for borrowing. But if you have in your bank account, say for instance, 10 or 15 or 20% of your annual sales is your monthly average balance, that's attractive to the bank to borrow. If you, the bank you'd be surprised how high they would lend to you on your annual sales. So let's say you say you shouldn't expect to, if your annual sales are $1 million, this is, I'm sorry, it's just I'm not exact, please, but you would not expect to be able to get more than some several $100,000 if you're not going to be able to borrow more debt and you can demonstrate to the bank. The bank really wants you to be robust. And they want that macro relationship, and that all counts, but they want the business to be robust. But if they get a good sale and a big payable comes in, and then you look good on the deposits, then it's time. But if you said receivables, Laura, that's if you have a lot of receivables, just ask you, the accountant makes a quarterly report of what your receivables are. Maybe it's a list of who it is, and that's very attractive to the bank. So you do want to have payables or receivables before you pay. Receivables to borrow, to have. It's very attractive to the bank, but also makes it tough. You're waiting to get paid, hoping to get paid. No, please, the guy doesn't run a business, or the guy doesn't retire, or the forget to send a check. It's very nerve-wracking. That might be, that's why it's just a credit card, but it has to be appropriate to your industry.
Okay, so I know we're almost out of time. I was wondering if I could ask you, what is the best advice you have, because you've been in business for such a long time, you've worked with so many founders and owners. What is the best advice you could offer businesses? Generally, if you look at our community, for example, the vast majority, let's say 98%, are generating less than $1 million in revenue. And so what is the best business advice you would give us, and then give us any final thoughts?
Okay. Well, maybe this is both the same question. I did want to get this in because I've been successful in sales all my career. And because I was taught how to do this. But you have to generate sales, but you are also, same as you can say you're an approved customer. You set the terms. Is it going to be what are the payment terms? How are you going to be paid? You'll be paid by check. You'll be paid by credit card. You decide the terms and stick with that. If don't sacrifice on price. You might feel I hate to let this business go. I want this sale, and people are businesses or they're human. They want to say, "Oh, well, I'll pay less. We're friends." I'll pay less, or I'll give you a bad review online. You don't give in. You set your price and you stick with your prices. You're just wasting your time. You might say, "Well, I'm here anyway. The store's open, and I would like to have the sale, and the time's going by. It's going to be. I have to close it." And the time you're not selling or delivering somebody, then you're marketing. Then you're making phone calls. You're following up. You're calling the person from a year ago to need to buy it again. And you're thanking them. Well, you're networking. There's always something else to do, but you want to make that sale, but don't sacrifice. Don't overpromise. Don't extend yourself so you'll burn out. You need cash. You need energy. So talking about cash, yes, nice to have that. That's to run your business, not to live off your business. And so don't spoil, don't exhaust that sweat equity. Use it sparingly. And if you can't deliver cash to yourself right off the bat, if it doesn't earn you the revenue you need to make your business go forward, then you don't need that client. You should be selective in who your customers are. I wanted to get that out. And of course, in sales.
That's excellent advice. That is excellent advice. I had to learn the hard way running my business. You have to choose the right customers, so to speak, and fire the customers, so to speak, that you know that aren't serving you. So I completely agree with that. Don't sacrifice, because
you have a life, you have a family, They thought there are sacrifices, period, to be an entrepreneur. There are sacrifices anyway. So don't even make it worse by and then not living somebody else's. Okay, well, I made my point. Thank you, Laura. Thanks for repeating it. I want to say too, in sales,
Mhm.
you have to listen.
Mm.
The steps of the sale. You treat people respectfully, of course, but you have a conversation. If you gained a hearing, if your customer called you or you called them and they're giving you a hearing, when you listen to what they have to say and understand it, listen to it, say it back, so they know you know what they said, and then if they have an issue, if it's a rainy day, and what you have to offer, your business, service, or product is the answer to what they need. People appreciate that the respect, and they will. I'm exaggerating when I say this, but whatever you have to offer is going to cure whatever problem they have. You can make something. You can make it fit. You can tailor it. Whatever their issue was, they need it fast. You can deliver it fast. You listen. They need it later. They need it a certain color. You listen. Give a hearing. Don't tell them what color they need or whatever. And you listen to what they have to say. And you have something somewhere that can do it, or you know who to ask. You're going to refer it to somebody else. You're going to solve their problem, even if you can't be the one to solve it. You say, well, I don't have it, but my competitor does. Or you have to do, or you'll be thoughtful about it. So I want to get that out too. Just listening, empathy, and delivering, and collecting, asking for a referral.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Connor to wrap this up, but I wanted to personally thank you very much for doing this for us.
Delighted.
Yeah, thank you so much, William, for joining us. This is very insightful, as always, when speaking to you. And for those who didn't get a chance to watch live, we'll be posting it in the community to view at a later date. And if you have any questions after that, feel free to drop them there. So one more time, thank you so much for joining us, and we really appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.